Thank you, Debbie. They were great words, and welcome again, everybody, to the AC conference for 2023. Well, the last year has certainly been an important one for ESG. I won't try and touch on all the issues. There are too many of them, but I'll touch on just a couple if you don't mind. Starting with climate change. Well, what a difference a single year, 1 year can make. We now have a plan to cut emissions by 43% by 2030. A tightening up of the safeguard mechanism was already there, not particularly effective. It's been made stronger. A tightening up of the safeguard mechanism which caps Australia's biggest polluters. A boost for electric vehicles via a national EV policy. A rebuild of the Climate Change Authority, thank goodness you might say. A rewiring the nation plan, a national reconstruction fund. We've also seen companies move beyond mandated disclosures such as TCFD towards voluntary disclosures. That's primarily a reference to the say on climate. And these are voluntary non-binding resolutions which give shareholders the opportunity to cast a vote, to express their opinion around the efficacy of their company's climate policies, and we think that's a very good thing indeed. In the end, though, it's up to us as investors to assess individual companies and their ability to decarbonise. And at the risk of doubling up on what Debbie's just said, we must keep on advocating, we must keep on engaging, we must continue to make progress. Modern slavery remains a scourge. We are now 10 years on from the collapse of the Rana Plaza building in Dhaka, Bangladesh. 1,134 lives were lost and over 2,500 people were injured. The building housed multiple garment manufacturers and, most unfortunately, this featured several or a number of the world's leading brands. A horrible event. It drew our attention to horrible working conditions. Only 5% of factories in Bangladesh have union representation, only 5%. Unfortunately, most disasters like this happen on work sites, happen in workforces where union representation is either low or non-existent. Active collaboration between unions and companies can be a very, very big positive for worker wellbeing and for workers. We should encourage it. The pandemic saw modern slavery risks significantly elevated, with some major supply chains closing down completely, and others came under huge volume pressures. With the borders reopening following the pandemic and greater mobility, the risks of modern slavery, they still remain there, and they're elevated. And we're seeing it here in this country by way of the horticultural industry and amongst migrant workers. We have with us today Ausbill's Head of ESG Research, Mons Carlson. Where are you, Mons? You've got an arm. If you're in the room, you might put your arm in the air. But Mons, he's at the back there. Mons, again, our Head of ESG Research. Mons has just returned from Bangladesh. If you'd like a discussion around the environment in Bangladesh right now, Mons can take you through that. There's been some improvement, obviously a long way to go. Likewise, if you want a more generalised discussion around modern slavery, Mons is more than equipped to do that. And also, too, if you'd like to discuss climate, that's what Mons is here for. So corner Mons with us today during the conference tonight at the dinner. These are just two issues which we see as critical ESG engagement themes. There are a multitude of others: cyber safety, biodiversity, and, of course, Indigenous relations. We're moving towards a referendum later this year, and as a result of that referendum, we'll learn more about ourselves as a nation. Let's vote yes. As stewards of Australia's investment and superannuation capital, we are all in a unique position to collaborate and to persistently and determinedly engage, engage and engage. This will deliver for our investors. It'll make our society better. And that is why the people in this room are so important. Ausbill is honoured, very honoured to be a major sponsor of this conference today. We hope you leave inspired by the end of today. Thank you for listening, and I'll hand back to Louise. Thank you for that.